for being here. Um, okay, so today's topic is the hurdles that you will face when it comes to two of the biggest hurdles that you will face when it comes to cleaning or organizing or decluttering your home. And the first one is that you do not know where to start, or you don't know how to continue. Everything's just very overwhelming. You feel that your house is very messy. You know, if you're doing the KonMari method, for example, you might be thinking, I just don't have a space where I can put a big pile of clothes or whatever. Or my space is already just a big pile of clothes. I have been there. So that's the first thing we're going to tackle. Here's just doing its thing as usual. And then the second thing we're going to talk about is when you live with others, how to kind of navigate that whole sticky situation. And then, like with last Monday's live stream, I will come back and answer questions at the end. So throw in all your questions, like what are the roadblocks that you face? What are the sticking points that you come across when it comes to getting your home in order? And I will have a little announcement to make a little bit further on. So first up then, when you do not know where to start, when you are just overwhelmed by the process, really stuck, I got my notes as usual. The first thing that I like to do is what I call the wave technique. This is something that I have come up with because obviously I have been decluttering for years now. And I do not mean just kind of the odd clear out here and there. I mean like hardcore decluttering, like KonMari method, Swedish death cleaning, decluttering for the past few years. So the first thing, the wave technique. This is about doing things in waves, slowly chipping away at things, slowly eroding away all of the clutter and all of the junk and all of the dirt. It's about making those like steady, slow and steady progress. So wave one, if you genuinely have no idea where to start, wave one is tackling the stuff that is very obviously trash or dirt or broken or things that you know that you can easily let go of. So it's the low-hanging fruit, basically. So grab yourself a box, a basket, a tub, a bin, a bag, whatever, and go through the specific space that you have decided to tackle. Try and keep it to a small space. Like if you decide to tackle your entire home in one go, that's going to be incredibly overwhelming. So try to keep it to a small space. And then, grab whatever container you've got and go through it and pick out the obvious junk, the obvious clutter, the stuff that you know that you can let go of. And that is your wave one. And I think you will be pleasantly surprised by how quickly you will actually get rid of stuff, like how significant the difference will be after just that first wave. From there, you can go on and do a second wave if you like, just each wave, tackling more and more difficult things, but definitely wave one is going to help you. I also like to call it a pre-KonMari. Like if your stuff is just all over the place and it's buried under other mess and, your clothes are all over the place and you can't even fathom the idea of like taking out all of your clothes or like all of your papers or whatever and putting them in one pile. Starting with this, doing a pre-KonMari, like just a sweep through first to get rid of a lot of the obvious junk and stuff that can easily be removed. So do like a pre-KonMari or a like wave one. And then from there, what I like to do sometimes when things get very overwhelming for me is grab myself, and I call this the box method, very cleverly named. I grab myself a big box and I put pretty much everything into it. So I did this once, like my kitchen. For anyone who's been following me for a while, you will know that the kitchen is one of the rooms that I cannot settle when the kitchen is messy. It just makes me very anxious. So I did this once when my kitchen was just really overwhelming and I just couldn't, like I'd been trying to make progress. Scout was very young. It was all very overwhelming for me. I took a big box that we had got a delivery in, and I just put everything into it. Everything that I knew for definite I was not going to be keeping in the kitchen. Everything that was on the table, everything that was all over the counters, toys, papers, books, random stuff. I took it all, I put it all into a big box, and I just slid it out of the room. The box method. And I have done it since, and it has proved very effective for me. And it basically just immediately gives you the, not the finished result, but it gives you a sense of how great the space will feel and look once you have tackled everything in it. So just getting it all out of the room first. Particularly if you're like me and you're a very visual person and you need those kind of quick wins, you need some form of like a boost. And then over the course of the next few days or weeks or whatever, every time you're passing the box, take something out of it or a handful of things out of it and decide what you're going to do with them. Either put them back in the room that they belong in, or trash them, or donate them, or whatever you're going to do. But if you are very, very overwhelmed and really struggling with motivation, really struggling with where to start, and you just cannot picture yourself doing it, you cannot picture what the space would be like, you are just incredibly stressed and anxious about the whole thing, start with your wave one, get rid of, the stuff that like you can make an easy decision on, and then try the box method and just get everything out of the space so that you can start with a kind of blank slate rather. Okay, so I hope that was really helpful in terms of if you have no idea where to start, you're feeling incredibly overwhelmed. Let us move on then to the second thing, which is when you live with someone, when you share things, you have joint things, whether that be, a spouse, a partner, a roommate, whatever. The first thing I like to do here is to explain to them, and I will get to kind of the more technical, practical, how to get them involved stuff in just a minute. But first step is always to explain to them what you are doing, rather than just like tearing around the house like a demon, dumping stuff left, right, and center. If you first explain to them what you are about to do and why you are about to do it. And something that I found really helpful was not explaining it in terms that I understand, like not explaining the reasons really that I am doing it, though that is part of it, but explaining it in a way that they will understand, explaining it in a way that benefits them, because we all have different reasonings for doing things. We all have different motivations for doing things. And my motivations for doing something may be completely different from my husband's motivations for doing something. So I knew that by telling my husband that I just wanted a cleaner home, that would mean nothing to him because my husband does not see dirt or mess or anything like that. Maybe you have a husband or a partner or a roommate or whatever who is the same. Telling them that you just want things a little bit tidier will mean nothing to them because they don't see things as untidy. So the way that I explained it, because my husband is very supportive of me and supportive of him having an easy life and supportive of my business, the way that I explained it was that, I did the bulk of the cleaning, and that's not because we don't have like a fair, equal marriage or whatever. It's just that I have higher standards and I accept that. So the way I explained it was that by decluttering, it would save me a lot of time cleaning stuff and organizing stuff, which in turn would lead to me feeling a lot less anxious and less like pressured and just crap generally. And it would also then free up my time so that I could focus on Scout, which is obviously very important to him, and my business and growing my business. And that was a benefit, or those were the benefits that he could actually get on board with. Those were the things that he could understand. Also try and understand it from the other person's perspective. Like you are, however old you are, I am 35. It took me, so I started this, I don't know, several years ago. We'll say I was in my late 20s. It took me 28, 29 years to get to a place where I was ready to actually tackle my home and tackle all of the clutter that I had accumulated over almost 3 decades at that stage. The other person just may not be there yet. Like we all do things on a different time scale. We all do things at our own time. So what you have to keep in mind, so it's like, okay, let me give you this example. If your partner or roommate or whatever came to you and said, at the end of the year, I'm going to be running a marathon. I've signed us both up. We're both going to be doing it. We're going to be training. I've got us a good training plan, a good fitness plan. I've got us a good, I've been talking to a nutritionist. They've done up a diet plan for us. This is going to be so great for, us and our health and our wellness and all that. Like, how many of us would be like, hold on a second there. I know I certainly would be. I'm like, that ain't happening. No, nope. You just turn yourself around there and walk away. The argument can be made that running the marathon would be good for us. It would be good for our health. Diet changes would be good for our health, fresh air, exercise, like all good things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we are ready to make those changes. So try and keep something like that in mind when you are, approaching this topic, that even though decluttering, like the goal of decluttering may be like good and noble and whatever, that does not mean that someone is ready to do it. So that is kind of like a little mindset shift maybe that may help. Thank you for all of your great comments and questions. I'm going to come to those at the end. I'm nearly done now so that we get through this bit about getting others on board. The next one, and this was a tough one for me, it is to promise that you will not get rid of any of their stuff or like the shared stuff without their express permission. I know this is a tough one. I do, trust me. But you have to make that promise, because if you do not, the other person is not ever going to get on board with this. They are not ever going to feel comfortable with this process. You need to make that promise. We each have things that are important to us that, like, there is no logical or rational explanation for that connection. But we don't need a rational or a logical explanation. For some reason, it's important to us. And I think we've all had that situation where somebody else has considered something of ours to be junk or trash or unimportant or insignificant. And that's not even like, physical stuff, but that could be like a thought or an idea that you've had. It could be a feeling that you have. It could be anything. When somebody treats that as unimportant, that's very, very difficult. So always remember that just because you cannot understand why your roommate or your spouse or whoever you're sharing the space with, why you cannot understand why they are keeping, like their comic book collection or I don't know, whatever, like DVDs, just remember that we don't always have a rational reason for keeping something. We just may not be in an emotional or mental place where we're ready to let go of that yet. So make your promise. That will make the whole situation a lot easier on you. And then just make sure that you follow through on that promise. Like I said, it would be tough, but follow through. For me, this is one of the biggest reasons that got my husband not necessarily on board, but not actually obstructing the process, like not jumping in and trying to dissuade me from doing it, or just trying to hinder the process in any way, or just like complaining about it or whatever. Okay. And then just before I move on to kind of the practical stuff of how you can get them on board, I should say that you can still make significant progress. Like, I cannot promise you that the other person will eventually get on board. I will say that Sam, my husband, did eventually start to declutter a small bit of his own stuff, eventually, right? Not anywhere to the level that I was doing it. And I have heard anecdotally from a lot of others that eventually the other person did start to declutter some of their stuff. But I cannot promise you that the other person will do that or will do it to this, like, the extent that you want them to. So just know that you can still make significant progress. Never feel that if the other person isn't on board, it's not worth doing, because you will still make great strides. Okay, to get them involved. The first thing I would say is to ask them for help with, like, one particular part of it. So, for example, maybe you want to tackle the spare room and it's a disaster and whatever, but the other person is just not having it. They don't want it. But you could ask them, can they help you just to remove the stuff from the room, or to move like the heavy wardrobe or whatever, the dresser? Can they help you with some part of it? Because you don't necessarily want to be doing everything yourself, but they may not necessarily be in a place where they're ready to just jump in and be like, yay, let's declutter all our stuff. But can they help out with one particular part? Like, is there one area that they could have some involvement in, so that they don't feel like they're being sucked into this process that they really want no part of, but you still feel that you are getting some help, like that you're not just struggling with everything alone, like you're doing it presumably for the good of the household, like the benefits are going to be for everyone. So is there some part of it? Can they help you just to take some stuff out? Can they help you maybe just bag up some stuff for donation or whatever? Can they help you move that piece of furniture, that heavy piece of furniture? So that is a good way to kind of still get some involvement on their part without them necessarily having to take part in the entire process. And then the final thing that I will say, and this one was a game changer for me. If I had not done this, this process just would have been so much more difficult. And I've talked about this before. That is, and it sounds crazy, okay? I've never heard anyone else talk about this, and I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. It is to snap a picture of the stuff, like go through the stuff. If you've got shared stuff, for example, like we did in our kitchen, pots and pans and things like that, separate the things that you want to get rid of, the things that you think it's time to let go of, snap a picture of those things and send it to the other person, and just ask them, is it okay if I donate these items? Or is it okay if I let these go? And you may, like, don't necessarily feel that you have to justify it or explain it or anything, but you may feel like, we already have one of these pots or whatever, so I just feel like maybe we could let this one go. Okay, this works wonders, and it works wonders in like different ways. The first one is that you have done the heavy lifting. Like, this other person has not had to be involved in the process. You have gone through everything. You are going to be the one, boxing it all off and separating it, putting it aside or whatever. You have already made the decisions. And all they have to do is to just like, have a little bit of input. So you have done the heavy lifting. It's very easy for them just to text back then and say like, okay, or actually I'd like to keep that particular utensil. At which point you have to remember the promise that you made and just say, okay, bite your tongue a little bit. So yeah, you've done all the heavy lifting, makes it so much easier on them. The next thing then is that because you're not in the space with them, if you text them, you're not getting into an argument generally. It's much easier for them to emotionally detach. And this is not just from you, like you're not opening up a situation where you may, clash, because my husband and I disagree on everything. But when we're in a room together, like it's much easier for like a tiny little disagreement to grow into something because we can both see how frustrated we are. When they are not in the room, it's very easy to just keep it to a very kind of like professional, these are the things that I'm thinking of letting go of. Is that okay? And then a yes or a no. And then you have to zip it to a certain extent. Now, if you have a very good reason, if they say, no, I want to keep this particular thing, like my husband wanted to keep all his bottles of Tabasco sauce, who remembers the Tabasco sauce? Then you can maybe pop in and say, oh, well, actually, the reason that I want to get rid of this is because this has expired by a long shot. This expired a long time ago. But if they're still like, no, I'd like to keep it, then you need to, that's much easier to do in text message than it is when you're face to face. And then the final thing then is the emotional attachment. When you are physically holding something, or you are in the room when somebody is saying, I am throwing this thing in the trash, you have that emotional, like you feel the separation anxiety. When they're not in the room, that is so much easier for them to just like not participate in that, not feel that. It's very easy for them to feel detached and not really be concerned about the fact that maybe you are getting rid of the fifth of 4 of the exact same saucepan or whatever. So those are my tips there. I'm going to come to your questions now in a minute. I do want to say my announcement. La, 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 la. Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed I just did that. Anyway, announcement time. So obviously, as you know, I have been decluttering like hardcore for years, and this is just tip of the iceberg stuff in terms of the hurdles that you will face and all of the difficulties you will overcome and all of the things that I have learned, the tips that I have to share. I have taken all of those years of decluttering experience and bitter experience, and at some points, and I have condensed it all down into one course. Let me tell you, okay, this includes, I mean, just an intense amount of stuff. There's so much in here. So I've gone through like the hurdles that you'll face, not just the ones that I've talked about today, but other things like, you know, struggling to find the time to do it, how to incorporate like kids, like what do you do if you have kids, so many different things. I answer so many questions. Like a lot of the questions that I see are like, what if I regret it? Like, what if I get rid of something and I regret it? What if I get rid of this and I need it? What if I get rid of this item of clothing and then I can fit into it? Like so many questions, so many roadblocks, so many obstacles. And that is what one of the first modules in the course deals with. It's all about how to overcome them, how to kind of like foresee them and face them and then overcome them. So the layout, so like I said, so it'll start with kind of general principles, general decluttering tips, kind of like my advice, an explanation of the KonMari method, Swedish death cleaning, and then my kind of wave technique. I will share kind of questions that will help you with the decluttering process, like, would I buy this again, etc. And then I go on to a whole module on the things to look out for. So like the common obstacles and how you're going to overcome them, like the common questions people have, like, what if I need it? I talk a little bit then about like decluttering when you have a physical or mental illness. Like, what if you suffer from depression? What if you suffer from like chronic pain or something like that? And then I have a whole section on tips for, you know, when you share a space with others, how to overcome all of that. And I have shared a lot of it in this live stream, but I have so much more to share. After that, then it goes through every, like there's a module dedicated to every category. So there's like the closet, there's the kitchen and pantry, there is kids' toys and artwork, there is, oh my goodness, just a full list of things. So you will be taken through like every single area of your home, sentimental stuff, all of the very specific advice you need to tackle each of those specific categories. So it's not just kind of like, here's how to declutter. Like, this is just generic overall decluttering advice that will help you with any category. No, I have broken it down into each individual category for you. I'm not going to go into it like in too much more detail, but there's a lot. There's a lot in it. It is going to be launching in about 3-ish weeks, I think it is now. If you are interested, like if this feels like something that you are ready to do, like this is a whole house transformation. If you are ready to tackle your entire home, you are ready to just get rid of the clutter once and for all, get yourself on the wait list. If you are on Instagram, it will be linked in my bio. If you're on YouTube, it will be linked in the description to this video. So whenever this is done, I'm going to answer your questions now. Whenever this is done, hop over there, just get yourself on the wait list. You will get early bird pricing. And you will get first access to the course. So before it kind of like officially launches to the public, before it's officially out in the world, you will be one of the first through the door. So yeah, and that will have like the wait list. I will be giving people more information about exactly like the outline of the course, what's included, blah, 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 blah. I'm so excited about it. So excited about it. Blood, sweat, and tears going into this thing. Honestly, there's a lot going into it. But like it is, like it will answer all of your decluttering questions. Okay, let me go through and see if I can answer some of them right now. Let me see. Someone saying, oh goodness, Halsey Falls, oh goodness, I need this topic today. It's hard. So many obstacles. Like everyone, sometimes I feel like it's just like, oh, just declutter. Like if, sometimes it sounds easy, but when you actually go to do it and you come up against all of these like hurdles and roadblocks and like, oh, I don't have the time to do this. Like, oh, I don't have the motivation to do this. Like, what do? I'm stuck and I don't know how to move forward. And the place is a mess, whatever. Ballerina says that's how she used to tidy her room when she was younger. She'd get a bin bag and get rid of all the rubbish first. It really does make a huge difference. Obviously, Falls, definitely getting stuck on a category and feel like I can't keep going. Yeah, I've had to let go of the KonMari method for now and just go through all of the random stuff that's just everywhere, floor boxes. So the course will like go through that. It will explain the principles of the KonMari method, but also death cleaning, if anyone has heard of that. I've talked about that before. And then also like my wave technique. So you'll be taken through like various different, Bonnie, that super chat, I cannot. Thank you. I have no words. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay, that's incredible. Completely lost my train of thought now. Yeah, it will take you through like all of the different methods and you can find which one works best for you. There are so many different questions in there that are going to help you to deal with things. Like the one I mentioned about if you were out and about, like, would you buy this thing again? Other questions that I've mentioned in previous live streams, like if you had to replace this, like how easy would it be to replace? So there's going to be so many questions that are really going to help you to make a decision. And it's not just necessarily the does this spark joy thing, but so many other questions that are really going to have you looking at things in a different way and have you changing your perspective and just making those decisions so much easier so that you're not constantly hitting roadblocks. Obviously, Falls, the box method is making me feel less crazy because I've been doing that. Listen, hop on board the box method. It's amazing. If you find that the box is not getting emptied and it's just sitting there for months and months, you can safely get rid of that. If you don't need anything from that box for months and you're happy to let it sit there and not retrieve anything from it, you can safely get rid of that. Annika is overwhelmed by which papers to store, scan, and trash. Annika, did you get my email this morning? So my newsletter this morning, I actually sent out, there was a link in it to how to deal with your important papers, like how to protect them, basically, how to safeguard them. So after you have decluttered all of your papers, how to store and manage the most important ones. But if you go to my blog, howtogist.com, and you search for important documents, I think, the blog post will come up about like exactly all the practical ways that you can make copies and scan and the stuff that you should be saving, etc. So I hope that's helpful. Listen, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been decluttering for a long time. I have answers to everything because I have been there, bought that, been there, done that, and then decluttered the t-shirt, and then bought some more. Because I'm not perfect. Let me see. I have a hard part with sentimental. Oh, letters and cards are the hardest. Yeah. If you come across those when you're doing paper decluttering, set them aside. That is not a task for paper decluttering day. What's the best way to go about these, especially letters and cards from deceased loved ones? Your sweater is adorable. Thank you. It's one of those sweaters that I bought it because it was so hideous. I saw it on the hanger. I was like, that sweater is hideous and I need to have it in my life right now. It's just so like an unusual. Anyway, so all letters and cards. The first thing to realize is that you don't have to let them go. If you do not want to, you don't have to. I think there's this pressure right now that like you have to declutter everything. You don't have to. If you want to keep that stuff, do. Something that does help me though is to only keep the most recent. So like, cards particularly, because I have a tendency to like hoard greetings cards that people send me. But keep the most recent or the one that has a very special message in it. It may also help you to snap pictures of them. A thing that helped me when I was going through old notes from friends that we used to pass to each other in class, I hope none of my teachers are watching this, is I realized that I was never, ever going to look back over that stuff again. I read through some of it, and a lot of it was so cringeworthy that I was happy to let go of it. But I just, in the end, I had a whole box of notes and I just let them go. I just burned the lot because I knew I was never going to look at that stuff again. I knew there was nothing of any real significance in there. It was all just what we do for lunch, like which boy I fancy right now. This class is so boring. A lot of it was just general, kind of mindless stuff, I guess. But don't feel that you have to get rid of the stuff. Just don't. If you want to keep it. I would say as well, like with paper, if you're going through it, get yourself really comfortable. Get yourself a day that like you have an extended period of time, get yourself a snack and a drink and sit down and get comfortable and allow yourself to like go through it and remember all those things. If you do feel that you may be ready to get rid of something and you're still kind of a little bit hesitant, snap a picture, save it, or write a journal entry about it. That's another good one that I sometimes do. Like if you've got a big long letter and you don't want to get rid of it because you mentioned something in it that sparked an emotion for you or whatever, then just journal about it or write it down as a little quote, like in X letter of X date I mentioned like this happening or whatever. You can always do that, or cut out the bit that's really important to you and paste it into a scrapbook or a journal or something. I hope that's helpful. But yeah, I would say, first of all, don't feel that you have to get rid of it. If it's important to you and you just feel like you would be anxious getting rid of it, you don't necessarily have to. Give yourself the time to like relive those emotions, whatever. Maybe someday you will feel ready to let go of it. But if today is not that day, don't feel the pressure. Sprinting through MS, I try to keep my husband's things in specific areas and clean and declutter other areas. When my husband and I lived in Dublin, we shared a home office. So our desks were like literally side by side. And because I didn't use mine as much, because my husband likes to work to noise and I like to work to silence. So I would often just work in the kitchen. But I noticed that all of his stuff was starting to encroach on my desk. So anytime I did go up to do work, I would first have to move his stuff. And I just told him straight out, I was like, the next thing of yours that I see on my desk, I will burn it. I had gotten to a point where I was very frustrated. And, I had said it before, like, try to keep your stuff over your side. And it just got me in a bad mood one day. I was like, if it lands on my desk, it's gone. If it lands on my desk, I will consider it mine and it's gone. Sometimes you have to be very clear. You have to set boundaries for particular areas. So if you have a particular area, it's just like have it so that there's one space in the house. You can say like, okay, and that's what we've done in this house. Like Sam has his own office. I'm like, you do what you want to do in your office. His office is filthy. There's dust everywhere. It's like cluttered. It's a disaster. Well, that's his space and let him do what he wants. But then for other spaces, like the kitchen, I'm like, no, I need a certain amount of cleanliness in a kitchen. So having the boundaries is a really good one. But yeah, I did kind of lay it on the line. Mike's mom started to declutter my house a few months back. Took my husband 5 months to get on board. He did because he said I seemed happier and lighter with less stuff, and he wanted that feeling too. That's great. That is wonderful. But yeah, sometimes they do get on board. Not always, but sometimes they do. Habits defaults, I keep things hoping I might have time to do them once I'm not tidying all the time, like puzzles, craft projects, etc. Do you think that's advisable? What I do in those situations is I put a deadline on them. So if it's something, and this is something that, clothes with the clothing category comes up a lot. People think, I'm on this diet or whatever, and I will lose this weight and I will fit into it in X amount of time. put it in a box, put it away somewhere, and put a deadline on it. And if you have not used that thing by the deadline, you're just not going to. Like if the threat of getting rid of it was not enough to make you, utilize it, it's okay to let it go at that stage. Something I do as well is actually schedule in the time to do it. Like if it's puzzles and crafts things, sit down right now and schedule in a time in the next week, 2 weeks or whatever, when you're actually going to use that thing. Sometimes we just need that little kick. Like if you're looking for time, if you're trying to wait until you have the time, like it'll never come. If you specifically schedule the time, hopefully that will definitely help. And if it does not, again, look at that and say, well, if I scheduled in the time and I still did not get to it, still didn't make it a priority, you can probably let that go too. And I had a pair of pants for 10 years before I could fit into them. I finally fit into them and then realized they were no longer my style. Yeah, I think sometimes you have to give yourself the permission as well. And I've spoken about this before. Sometimes you have to keep something and give yourself the permission to keep it and to fit into it again or to use it again or whatever, to realize that actually it's not as important as you thought. Like in our heads, things seem very important, but sometimes when it comes right down to it, they aren't. So it's just, it is a case, like I've got rid of things and then a week or two later or whatever thought, oh, I could have really used that thing now. And what I do is I just get on with my life. If I don't have it, I don't have it. And that's fine. Like nothing terrible is going to turn on it, really. Sometimes it's hard, like, and it's disappointing, whatever, but life goes on. That's, anyway. Okay, so let me move on. So I'm nearly at the end now of the questions, but like I said, if you are interested in that clutter, the decluttering course, it's called the Clutter Cure All. It's the cure to all of your cluttering woes, the answer to all of your cluttering questions, your clutter questions. Hop on, the link is in the description for YouTube. It's in my bio. So once this is over, hop over there, get yourself on the wait list, and you'll get all the information. Like I said, you'll get early bird pricing and all that good stuff. But like this is like tip of the iceberg for what the course goes into. I really hope those, like all of these are answering your questions and you're getting good value out of this. So Linda has said that she has been washing all of her clothes and Ella's, who I assume is your daughter, and then deciding what goes to charity bags once it's dry, and then I've hung up everything left. Yeah, sometimes you need to go through everything. Like that's good with laundry though, because laundry in particular, when I come to do laundry, I ask myself, because I don't like doing laundry, I ask myself, do I really want to launder this item for the rest of my life or for the rest of its life? Like, do I really want to keep washing this thing? Like if you're washing it, it's generally a good indication that you are actually wearing it. Look at the things that you have not washed in a while. Those are the things you're not wearing. And that's fine if it's like a ball gown or something that you like break out once a year. But yeah, look at the things that you're washing over and over again. And then look at the things that you're not really wearing or you only wear every now and again, and ask yourself, do you really want to be washing this thing in like 5 years' time? That's always a good one for me. Like, do I still want to be cleaning and dusting this thing for the rest of my life? Usually the answer is no, especially when it comes to dusting. I don't want to dust anything for the rest of my life. I absolutely despise dusting. But yeah, that's another way of looking at it. Okay, here's a really good one. PJ Peace, I just don't want to be wasteful and spend too much dollars on stuff to trash it. So wanting it to go to charity shops with the right people. I've gotten rid of quite a bit already. Absolutely. This fear that you will have wasted money. That's another thing that I deal with in the course. Very briefly, the answer to that is the money is already gone. The money was wasted when you bought it, not when you get rid of it. You have already exchanged your money for that thing. You can do what you like with it thereafter. Once I realized that my money was already gone and it wasn't coming back, and like keeping the item in my closet, for example, keeping the skirt or whatever in my closet, wasn't bringing the money back. All it was doing was making me feel bad. So that can be a really helpful kind of adjustment to make as well. PJ piece as well, I know, just not to touch his stuff. He wants to deal with it. We both have photographic memories, and if someone moves our stuff, we can never find it. Everyone comes to me in this house, like, where is such and such? Where is such and such? And I always know. I'm always like, oh, that's on the couch downstairs, or oh, that's in the corner over there, or oh, that's Daddy Bunny. Keeping track of Daddy Bunny, like I should put a tracking device on him. Daddy Bunny is my daughter's stuffed bunny, and like he is basically a member of the family. But I always know where he is at any given time, and sometimes he'll be in a random place, but I'll still know exactly where he is. I'll be like, oh yeah, he's in the basket of your bike out in the garage. Let me see. I think I've gone through all of them, but I just want to be sure before I hop off. Thank you so much for all of your wonderful comments and questions. And Bonnie, thank you again for that super chat. That was totally unexpected and wonderful. Simply Beth, my husband and I only communicate via text. Yep. Yep. Let me see. Evie or Evie, depending on how you pronounce that. I remember that whole Tabasco sauce thing. If you remember the Tabasco fiasco, you're one of the original gisters. Bonnie puts them in piles of several items and then takes pictures, so they don't want to take the time to look at them individually, right, Laura? Yes, right. But really, like, if you do that, it just makes it so much easier for someone else to just look at a picture and make a decision rather than having to like go through all the items individually. You've taken all the grunt work out of it for them. Like, who wouldn't be happy with that? That says expiration dates are subjective. You and my husband are the same person. They're made to encourage you to throw food out and buy more. I don't entirely agree with that, but I don't entirely disagree with that. My husband has certain ideas about things that just basically will live forever, and I do not. But I definitely agree that like the best before dates on things, like I ignore all those, even the like use by, no, unless I can like physically see mold or something on it. I will keep things for quite a while. But like oodles of bottles of Tabasco sauce that expired ages ago when we hardly ever used Tabasco sauce, no, draw the line there. Sorry. Yeah, that's. She also wants to know what my Instagram handle is. How to GYST. That's where you'll find me everywhere. Diane, do I have any advice for collections? Really depends on what you can, like what type of collections there, how long you've had them, whether they're sentimental, stuff like that. But I would kind of treat them the same as everything else. I try and do them like treat the collection as a category on its own, because then it's very easy to see that you have 200 packs of stickers. Not that I have ever been in that situation. That's a kind of and collections are kind of an unusual one in that you're deciding as a whole whether you need to keep it, like whether it's important for you to keep every aspect of it, like the collection, having every part of the collection is important to you. And I would encourage you to question that. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I have to have, particularly with, we'll say, saucepans, pots and pans or whatever, we probably all at some point bought like a kitchenware set that had X amount of saucepans and various bits and bobs in it. And we keep them all because they all came in a set. But you don't necessarily have to keep them. So first think of like, do you need, like, is it important to you that you have a complete collection? And then you can work from there. Like if it's not important to you, then you go through each one individually and ask yourself, whether it sparks joy, whether you could easily replace it, stuff like that. But first of all, deciding whether or not it is actually important as a collection or whether it is just like similar individual items that you're keeping. Cindy wants to know how much the course will be. That's a great question, actually. It's not 100% definite yet, but the course probably for the amount of information that's in it would probably be $147. But like I said, get yourself on the wait list. waitlist, there will be early bird pricing that will significantly reduce that cost. I thought about doing it in all individual modules, like just doing a course on closet decluttering or whatever. But I realized, like, if I added all those up, like, it would come to hundreds of dollars. So I decided to just put them all into one course, and like package it all up and give it to you for like a significantly reduced price. So yeah, full price will be $147. But like I said, get yourself on the wait list. That's all I will say there. Let me see. COCGG, thank you so much. My mum devised her own box system a few years ago. She now has a dozen bankers boxes and all of her laundry baskets full of stuff she needs to sort. Any thoughts? Take it one at a time. One at a time. Again, it's about giving yourself those quick wins rather than looking at all of the boxes. Like, just shut that door right now. Just take out one at a time and go through those. But also consider the possibility that the fact that it's been sitting in boxes or baskets for all that time and you haven't needed them or used them or whatever, it may be time to just get rid. If you haven't used it in all that time, you've been happy for them to sit around in a basket and you've known you don't want to deal with it, that means there's nothing in there that you really want. Realistically, it's probably Evie. I'm going to say Evie. It may be Evie, but my daughter has a friend called Evie and she spells it that way. So I'm going to go with Evie. Thank you so much for that super chat. What the super chats today are totally overwhelming me. Wow, that's incredible. That I feel like a real businesswoman these days. Like I know, like, even since I got my like official paperwork and stuff, but like it's been a real, I don't know, it's just, it feels different. And then in other ways it doesn't feel different. It's like when you get married, like really nothing changes, but at the same time something does change, you know. GC, hi Laura, can you work through the course at your own pace? Will we be held accountable along the way? And have you decided on pricing? Sorry, so many questions. So I've answered the pricing one. Can you work through it at your own pace? Absolutely. You will get access to the course and you can work through the modules at your own pace. You will have eternal access to the course. So once you have paid, however much you have paid for it, it is yours to keep. If I update it, and if you have bought my Productivity Power Up e-course, it's the same principle. Any updates, upgrades, additional information that's added, that is all included in your price. So once you get it, it is yours forever. Updates that are made to it, all of that sort of stuff, yours forever. Will we be held accountable along the way? Not in a kind of like I'm testing you and watching you sort of way, but I will be doing regular kind of coaching calls so that I can hop on, there will be in the course, there are some kind of like motivational bits just to kind of keep you, just to offer some support. But I will be doing some group coaching calls where I can answer your specific questions, give you some more advice if you need it, tackle your particular queries. So that will kind of, and kind of ask you how you're going. There will also be, a private group where everyone should be more or less on the same page, like should be kind of tackling the same things. So that will kind of keep you accountable as well. You can post your pictures in there or whatever, and people will be able to give you advice or give you support or like be a cheerleader for you or whatever you need. So yeah, I hope that answers your questions there. Natalie Lee says she's done loads of decluttering in lockdown and she's run out of places to put it. Nowhere is open. Our backyard is full. Nowhere left to put it. Then I would suggest going back and watching one of my previous videos about how to declutter stuff when all the donation centers are closed. That was like a full live stream on all of the different ways that you could do that. So that should be helpful. If you just scroll back a few videos on my YouTube channel, you'll find it there. Stacey is mentioning that she has a basement full of boxes. I will also go through like the storage places, the things where we put things, basements, attics, all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's, my goodness, there are so many comments and questions. I think I'm going to have to cut it off here because I've been on for so long. But like, feel absolutely free to like DM me, email me or whatever with your questions. I hope I answered, I think I answered the vast majority of them. But any questions about the course, any questions just about decluttering in general, absolutely feel free to just shoot them at me and I will answer them when I get a chance. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, the link to the waitlist is in my Instagram bio, and it is in, if you're on YouTube, it is in the description. And yeah, that's it. I'm sweating. I'm so excited about this course. I can't, like when I first had the idea, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I have like enough information to share, etc. And then I sat down and I just like drafted out an outline, and immediately I was like, this course is going to be incredible. Even if I do say so myself. But there's so much in it. Like the layout is just designed to keep you moving, basically. It's all like, here's a quick win. Here are some tips that you can utilize to tackle like the kind of awkward stuff in the middle. Here's like a little motivational piece to like keep you going to the next category. Here are the specific questions and obstacles you will face when dealing with this category. It's all in there. It's all in there. Yeah, that's okay. Whew, that was a lot. I'm gonna dive into a vat of ice cream now or something. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you on the wait list. I look forward to seeing you in the course. It's gonna be top notch, really is. Thank you so much. I hope you all have a great week. Shoot any of your questions at me, DM, email, wherever, comments on YouTube. Thank you for the super chats, Bonnie and Evie. Cannot tell you how much I appreciate those. Honestly, cannot tell you. It really does make a big difference. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for the hearts on Instagram. Thank you for all the comments. Love to you all. I hope you're all doing well, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Bye, everyone. Oh, I will not be doing a live stream on Wednesday because it's Scout's birthday. Just a heads up. No live streams on Wednesday. I have a very, very long list of demands that I have to I have to meet. Bye.